Today I'm going to be having a look at Cloudflare. I'm going to give a brief kind of non-technical description about what it does. Then I'm going to look at its most up-to-date financials, so its stock price and revenue. And then I'll kind of give you my final thoughts on the company as a whole, looking at, well, everything. Welcome to the channel. My name is Jonathan and I'm a software developer, and I try my best to explain in as non-technical a way as possible how tech companies work, how they operate and how they make their money, so that you as an investor have a better understanding, if you're not that tech savvy, of what you could be buying. So first, let's actually kind of get into the explanation about what Cloudflare offers. For me to do that, you actually have to have a basic understanding of how the internet works. So the really simple explanation about how the internet works is your computer, which in this case is the client, is looking to access resources. Let's just take a website, for example. So it has to get that from somewhere, and the website or the resource or the data is hosted on what's known as a server. So for you to actually get this resource, you need to know where this server is. And kind of the most simple way to explain it is, well, you have a URI. And an example of a URI or URL is www.youtube.com, which you are on just now if you're watching this video. So your client sends a request to the internet to find this particular server that has this particular URI, and then this gets sent to this server and a connection gets made. The data or the website from this server then gets sent back over the internet to your client, and that is how the internet works. Now, there is a problem with this type of connection. When you have this type of connection, there can be kind of malicious actions on both sides. For one, the client can essentially spam the server. So you could have 1 million kind of simulated clients sending requests at the exact same time to the server. And when that server gets overloaded with requests, then the server crashes. And then you also have things on the other side. So when you look at a particular URI and you send that request, there could be malicious content sent back from that server to either steal your data or do your computer harm. Kind of like viruses or malware, ransomware, the list goes on. But the whole point is that there can be dangers on both sides for both parties. So that's where Cloudflare comes in. It essentially acts like a middleman. So when the client sends a request to the server to try and get this website, then the request doesn't necessarily go from client straight to server. It goes from client to Cloudflare's server, then gets routed to the other server, and the server then sends that data to the Cloudflare server, and the Cloudflare server sends it back to the client. This actually has quite a lot of advantages because Cloudflare has specific things that protect both parties. The server is protected from too many spam requests and overloading the server, and the client is protected from malicious content sent. So with this middleman, you increase the level of security and safety for both parties. But there is another advantage as well. So let's say that you actually had your website hosted on a server in the United States, and someone wanted to access this website in China, which is on the other side of the world. And although the internet is very quick, that distance will still cause kind of some delay. It might only take like a few seconds, but a few seconds actually really does matter to, well, a website. Because when someone tries to access a website that is routed through Cloudflare, it goes from the client to the closest possible Cloudflare server, which in this case could be in China. So the client then can access the website not through going pretty much from client to United States. They access by going from client to the Chinese server, and the Chinese server then accesses the United States server to get the data, and it temporarily stores it so long as this person here has an active connection to the website. Now, you may think that that actually takes longer, but think of it like this. When someone accesses the website, they make an initial connection. So the request goes from the client to the Cloudflare server, and then what the Cloudflare server does is it goes to the American server, gets all the information required to load and run the website, and then it takes it and temporarily stores it. It temporarily stores it in a location that is easier to access for the Chinese client computer. So rather than having to make connection going from client to Cloudflare to American server back and back, all it has to do is do that once, and then it can go from client to Cloudflare, client to Cloudflare, Cloudflare to client. It doesn't actually have to go back all the way back to the American server. That is probably as non-technical an explanation as I could give on the benefits of Cloudflare. And I hope it did make sense. But let's actually get more into the financial side of things. It's trading around $73 per share. Its 52-week range has been about $15.8 to 95.7. Its market cap is 22.628 billion, and its earnings per share were minus 0.72. Looking at how it's performed over its lifetime from about September 2019 to now, it has steadily been increasing, except for a small dip in September 2020. And yeah, it's been kind of on the rise up until the 10th of February this year. Alright, so we have the 10K form for 2020. Here are actually some of the things that they offer. Now feel free to pause the video if you do want to read it. You have cloud firewall, bot management, distributed denial of service, Internet of Things, SSL and TLS, secure origin connection, rate limiting, so in performance content delivery, so there's CDN, intelligent routing, content optimization, mobile optimization, image optimization, mobile security development kit. For reliability, they have load balancing, Anycast network, virtual backbone, DNS, DNS resolver, and always online. There is a lot more to this document, so I will link it down in the description below. So if you do want to have a more thorough look at it, then by all means. Their revenue, so we have from 2016 to 2020, but we will have a look kind of at the main growth. So from 2016, their revenue went from 84.791 million to 431.059 million. So you can actually see that it's just been progressively increasing. Cost of revenue in terms of a percentage wise has also been reducing, which is nice. Looking at their revenue and subtracting their cost of revenue, they end up with a gross profit of 330.004 million, which is quite a good margin, I would say. They are investing obviously heavily in sales and marketing, research and development as well, but the general administrative costs aren't actually that high relative to their gross profit. So yeah, I know they are still operating at a loss, but that mostly comes down to the fact that they are investing heavily in sales and marketing. But yes, using my kind of standard metric of judging, as sales and marketing and research and development are luxury, well, not always luxury costs, they are essential, but they are costs that can be reduced if it came to it. Whereas general administrative and cost of revenue costs aren't really that flexible in that sense. So if we take the revenue of 431.059 million, we subtract their cost of revenue of 101.055 million, and then we subtract the general and administrative cost of 91.753 million, we end up with 238.251 million, which is pretty good when you consider their revenue. So more than about, 50% of their revenue could be profit if they weren't putting so much into sales and marketing and research and development. And I know that they will never, and it's not practical and it's not good for a company never to be developing and researching new products, and especially not investing in sales and marketing. But removing those kind of more flexible and adjustable costs, yeah, they are actually still a pretty good company in that sense. So as a tech guy, I actually quite like the concept behind Cloudflare, because it does add a middleman and it does add a degree of safety for both parties when it comes to kind of hosting applications online. And as an investor, I actually quite like the look of its revenue. It's shown pretty good kind of revenue increases over the years. Its margin between its cost of revenue and its, well, revenue is really good. Its general and administrative costs aren't that high, and I know it has spent a bit more over the past few years, but it did go public in 2019. So for 2020, it had an influx of cash. So it did have an influx in terms of what it spent in sales and marketing and research and development, which is good for tech companies because they do really have to stay competitive. So I actually do quite like Cloudflare as an option, but bear in mind that this is all just my opinion. Don't go and buy $1 billion in Cloudflare just because I quite like the company. Do extensive research, have a look at the document, which I'll link down below if you. I do hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video and you found the explanation helpful, then please hit that like button. And if you do like the content of this channel, then consider subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.